Welcome back to another Nudelberg Daily Huddle. Happy Wednesday to everybody. Hump Day.
Hump Day. I am coming to you live from, or Shay and I are coming to you live from Atlanta. And Atlanta is one word: cold.
Yeah.
Shay, show me how.
Oh, man. 36 degrees. I know. I talked to Kai this morning, who's in Tallahassee, and they were saying that it was in the low 40s there. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, it's got to be real cold in Atlanta then.
I mean, I took Shay out for dinner last night for his birthday, which I did not mention yesterday. That is a total miss.
Shame on us.
There were people shouting it out, and I kept saying, I got to recognize it. I got carried away in the thought. And so it was a miss, but we did take him out last night. We had a few adult beverages, and Shay is not the most talkative human being on the planet, but I did get him to smile a couple of times. So
you get him a couple shots in, he'll start talking a little bit, though. Get him a little buzz going. The problem with that is then you don't know what's coming, though. You got no idea what's coming out of his mouth after that.
We were pretty consumed. We're watching baseball, and then there was basketball on, so it was really, really good shape. Good morning, Ross Calvert is in the house.
Good morning, Ross. Great to see you here in the huddle live with us this morning. Thanks for being here.
Welcome to the Daily Huddle. Donna Goldfarb is here. Sherry Cedar is here. Oh, we're having a great morning. So I want to should I wait till after the break, or should I jump right into what happened to me yesterday?
No, let's talk about it. Let's go to wake up music before we do that. But before we do that, it is legitimately the most wonderful time of the year. Like, it's not Christmas. Everybody sings that song. It's not Christmas. It's right now. Because right now you've got football, both college and pro. You've got baseball, playoff baseball, which is the only baseball that anybody cares about. And you've got the NBA back now. You had ring ceremonies last night. So sports are in full swing. And it's really the most wonderful time of the year.
I don't disagree with you. It's pretty wild. I mean, for all of you Yankee fans, or as it were, Carlos Stanton fans, it's the first inning. He makes it hey, see you guys.
Go figure. He's a former Marlin, by the way. Go figure.
Yeah, pretty well. I think most of the people that are great in baseball right now played some time with the Marlins. But let's wake it up, because I want to talk to you about an unbelievable coaching experience I had yesterday.
Let's do it.
Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Wake up. Come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed.
I would be remiss if it did not remind everybody, and we'll have content tomorrow morning. You get your Up and Comers Award tonight. So congratulations to you. A series of events that validate who you are and what you mean and all that kind of stuff. So pretty neat.
Excited to be with a great group of people tonight at that event. So it's going to be at the Drive Pink Stadium. I think people will be dressed in pink. So it should be a cool night.
I'm actually pretty bummed that I can't be there, but I'm doing what I do. I'm doing it in Atlanta. We're having fun. I'm excited because I got the opportunity to invite some of my friends to today's event. That doesn't normally happen. They're usually closed events for the client. So I think I have a dozen people, from all different walks of my life who live here in Atlanta who are coming. Ginger will be there, obviously. So some pretty cool stuff. I don't know if you saw that, but Waldo Waldman is here.
I did see it. Very
Waldo,
cool.
Waldo's just cool, just being Waldo. You know, he is one of the original Top Gun guys. We're trying to make it happen today to see each other, but he's coming in from Dubai.
Oh, wow.
So he just landed. We'll see if we can make it happen. If we can't, and then a gigantic shout out to this gentleman, David Aarons, who is making notice of my blazer. David, I wore this specifically for you. David has invited me to speak next week or 2 weeks at his company event in Cincinnati. And he was telling me what he's going to wear. And I was like, I usually make it a practice not to outdress the host. It's usually bad, but he gave me free reign, man. So it's just, here we go. Awesome. So anyway, I'm in Atlanta for 2 reasons: to speak and to get coached. Now, there's all different kinds of coaching. Correct, Mark? Just throw out how many kind of different coaches there are.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a mental coach. You could have your, nutritionist coach. You could have your, weight training coach. You could have your conditioning coach or your speed training coach. You could have your business coach. You could have your sales coach. You could have a coach for absolutely anything that you could want in your life.
And coaching, depending on your experience with it, is either really, really positive and you want to continue to get better, or you look at it as, I'm fine, I don't need coaching, and you look down on it. Well, a dear friend that I know for many, many years is the top vocal coach in the world. Her roster of clients, Shay showed me her wall of fame. Oh, I mean, it was unbelievable, Mark. Usher, Rihanna, Shania Twain, Van Perry, Rob Thomas, Justin Bieber. She was in the best. It was amazing. And that whole wall was like, you knew everybody. And I was in her office. I had a 2-hour coaching session. And she started with, do you know where your vocal cords are?
No, I got no answer for that.
I got nothing.
In your throat?
In your larynx. And so I said esophagus, and she said close. The esophagus kind of opens and closes. She goes, but she went through all of the stuff about you only have 2 vocal cords. And for me, I make a living. This is what I do. If somebody took my voice away, I can't coach, I can't speak, I can't do any of that. So the depth that she went into to explain, oh, and by the way, it's the only part of the human body that cannot be man-made. They haven't figured it out. They replaced. I mean, they can put a heart in, they can replace your knee, they can do everything like that. You cannot replace your vocal cord. So what was fascinating for me was that she had a process.
Of course.
How she works with people, what she does. She doesn't care. Like her office, her studio, which was spectacular, is right near a private airport. Why? People fly in to get something wrong with their voice. They fly in, all the time. But she says, I only work with my people a certain way. She has a process. And what she has developed, warm-ups and cool-downs. She had me doing all kinds of shit. I was blowing bubbles yesterday.
I know. I saw the video on Instagram that you were blowing bubbles in some glass. I was like, what the hell is he doing out there?
Well, we were blowing bubbles together, which I was cracking up. I almost snorted the bubbles right out of my nose, man. But I just wanted to share with people, there's always a way to get better at anything in your life. It doesn't matter. It's not just business. It's not just modernizing or leadership of the things we do. If you make a choice to get better, your options are out there. And not by coincidence, I am coaching her in her business. And we have some unbelievable things that I was able to draw up on her whiteboard. So
it looked like a really cool space. It looked like she was awesome and you guys were having a good time. Like, you could just tell when you look at pictures, you see energy or whatever. You could just tell it was a good spot. And it looked really awesome. So shout out to Mama J and the vocal training.
Look at Waldo, man. There you go. See,
Yeah. How about that? So Waldo Waldman says that he had vocal cord surgery many years ago. Improper speaking and use of my breath was serious, but thank goodness I got coaching. And so, yeah, for anybody who's, really, I think, if you're in business, you're probably using your voice. It's probably a good thing to know and a good thing to understand, especially if you're responsible for presenting and getting on stage. I can't imagine the damage I've done to my vocal cords through my years in coaching of yelling and screaming and being loud. And I can't imagine what I've done.
So one of the first things I'm doing is I'm going for a test called the strobe, and they put something in your throat and they kind of assess. And she said, listen, there's no such thing as a gravelly voice. You have damage.
Right.
You
damage.
you outwork the damage. You make it your own. But you're all down in here. She was trying to get me to do falsetto. She was lighting up the brakes there, you know.
I hope Shay has some video of that falsetto. Like
we were cracking up. It was just great. But
and you keep the vocals consistent. You feel this? You feel the compression?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Do it again.
Good.
Fantastic. I mean, your face when she like gave you the Pillsbury Doughboy poke, you were like, "Hey, don't poke me." You know?
Who said to be touching? Now, what is it to touching?
Exactly.
I don't touch my clients, but Waldo, we did make fun of. She said everybody that like Barry Gibb and others, Michael Jackson, they explore the falsetto part of their voice by stretching. They have range, the chords, and for me, it's like any other muscle. You don't warm it up, it shrinks, heat, and so it was fascinating. Great stuff. Anybody wants more information, I'm happy to share it with them. We are going to build a program that is accessible to anybody who wants to take care of their voice. Teachers, preachers, anybody that's in business, man, you lose your voice.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're responsible for getting in front of your team at some point, or you're responsible for presenting at all, you gotta be aware of what you need to be doing in order to ensure that your voice doesn't give out on you. Because without your voice, what are you gonna do?
So this is why I'm gonna have a blast with David speaking at his event. He goes, "Was that bourbon?" I was blowing bubbles in bourbon.
I love it. But so part of her thing, is vocal athletes, right? Like she looks at using your voice, and she looks at presenters and speakers as vocal athletes. And so that kind of segues us to another piece of content that revolves around process. Shay, show me Jalen Hurts and what's making the Philadelphia Eagles so successful right now.
I personally, honest, I hate hearing 5-0. I don't like to hear it. Because nobody wanted to mention the record when we were 2-5. Nobody wanted to talk about that. So I don't want to hear it now. Can we come in here, control the things we can, attack every day, and just grow and climb? Like that's what matters, the process.
So you catch it at the very end right there, but he said that's what matters, the process. Mama J has a process for dealing with her clients, right? And what she puts people through in order to create vocal athletes. You hear a guy who now they are 6-0. They're not 5-0 anymore. They're 6-0. That was last week's, conversation before the game. And he's talking about, it's not about the record. It doesn't matter whether we're 5-0 or we're 2-5. It's about how we show up to work every day, how we attack the day, whether or not we continue to grow and climb and control the process and do what we can to make ourselves successful. So it's always there. It's always out there that you can find content for days that points back to, what are you doing today? How are you showing up today and controlling the controllables in order to put yourself in position to be successful?
Yeah, I found it fascinating when he said, when we're 2-5, nobody's talking about the record. Now you want to talk about it because it's inversed. It could be a flip of the ball or whatever. That doesn't mean I'm not doing all the same shit. Like I was doing it. The ball didn't bounce my way when it was 2-5. I stayed consistent. Now it flipped. That's what great performers do, is they stay with it in consistency, not about what you're saying. It's easy to talk from the cheap seats.
So, and that kind of takes me to being smart, right? Like understanding, Like, what does it mean to be smart in today's world? How do you get to that place where you understand what the process is and you're able to focus on that? And I don't know that there's anybody better, but we talk about him all the time. Seth Godin, a while back, dropped a bomb, an absolute nugget into the inbox, and it said, "Are you smart?" And then he asked, he said, "Smart is no longer memorization. It's not worth much. Smart is no longer access to information. Everyone has that." And I think if you look back, we've always categorized smart people as the people who could memorize it and regurgitate it, or the people who had the information. So now that it's changed, how did he define smart in this, which I love? Shay, pop that back up one more time. He talks about situational awareness. He talks about clarity of goals. He talks about good taste. He talks about empathy for others, the ability to make decisions that further your goals. So I think what's really interesting is that it's all goal driven, and it's how do you become clear and concise on what you want to do? And if you're able to do that, how do you then reverse engineer that into the decisions that you make on a daily basis that feed the things that you say are a priority or a goal for you? I think it's brilliant.
So the whole conversation about smart used to be, oh, he memorized that whole thing in a boom, boom, boom. He nailed the test because he memorized it.
Correct.
In today's world, you need to download the information and then reapply it. And so it's not just owning the information. It's
of information. I love that. Right. That's
how you apply it is so, and that's what I think is separating people in the marketplace, is people who can devour information and go, okay, I see it differently, and then throw it up on the board, reverse engineered or done anything like that. But the most significant thing, the most good word, really good word.
Yeah,
really
because that to me is the people that are able to bring it all in, synthesize it, simplify it, and then give it back to you in a way that's really easy to understand. Like that to me is when I sit with somebody in their business and they're able to clearly and simply explain to me how they do what they do, to where I'm like, a dummy could do that. Now there's tons of nuances to what make them really successful in their business. But part of what makes them so good is that they're able to communicate it so simply, which is really what being smart is. It's being able to digest and have all that information, but understand how to convey it for somebody else to understand it. That's another.
And here's where I really think he nailed it. It's a choice. 8 years ago, I made a choice to really dig in where I was really uncomfortable and learn the social media for business kind of thing. Like I could market myself, and I was enamored with that. So I devoured the information. But one of the things that James Clear said when I heard him speak, he said, the process that you develop to devour information is as important as the information. And he said, I liken myself to a hawk that's flying in over the field. I swoop in and I grab something and I run with it, and then I package it with all the other stuff. So it is a series of learnings that come together that you put package or discern. There's very few new ideas. I think there's new application.
That's a brilliant way of saying it, is the application. I would say that there's, like you said, the very few, if any, true new ideas. It's how you take the idea and apply it into a new environment, into a new space. I had my coaching call with Andy Smith yesterday, and he ended the call with like, I just love the way that you relate this game of football to business, because it makes sense for him. Now that doesn't fit everybody. I don't do that for everybody because not everybody understands the game, but he gets it. And so when he sees those parallels, it offers him a different perspective on what he's doing and how he's doing it, because of the way I'm synthesizing and simplifying and reconveying it in a new arena.
So, Joy, we do not allow any other coaches in the room. I'm just teasing. There's tons of great.
And I would love for her to explain in the comment, like, what is ABCing your message, right? Like, is that ABC stand for something? Is it, always be connecting? Like, what does that ABC really stand for? I'd love to hear more about that. But let's go to some morning motivational music. Then we'll come back. We'll spend a couple minutes finishing up on this topic of smart. So what does that song, Your Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher, have to do with being smart? Because I think the topic he talked about in being smart, which is being empathetic, which to me means having compassion, is the number one trait of smart individuals. They understand how to connect with somebody in a relationship, to not be consoling, to not be somebody who wallows in it with you, but is able to understand where you're coming from and helps you see the light to get out of it. Every mentor, every coach, anybody I've ever been around hasn't said, suck it up and just do the job and get better. They've said, look, I feel you. I understand where you're coming from, but you got to know that in order to get to the light, here's the path that you got to take. And that to me is people that are smart.
So really well said. And I don't want to argue with it so much as give you a different perspective. I think the number one thing I see in leaders, people who are out in front, is self-awareness. Who am I? How do I show up in other people's lives? That's where the vulnerability and authenticity and empathy come from, because I am genuinely in touch with how I'm showing up. There's some people so fucking clueless. They have no idea. They're just sailing along doing what they think is great leadership. And, you know, this saying, back to what you said, was like, I know how you feel. Bullshit. You don't know how I feel. And in most cases, you can't know because it's unique to them and their experience. And so giving them the room to deal with it, understanding that you can support it, but you can't understand it, that is real self-awareness. So it's, yeah, look at that. Jay Katari says, it just can't be faked, can't be authentic. Right. That's smart. Listen, if you got to walk in the room and say you're an expert, you know, that's not smart. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the expert.
And I think the other part of it is when you're dealing with somebody who's struggling, or you're dealing with somebody who's not hitting the mark and not reaching the expectation, the compassion to say, I understand, or the compassion to say, hey, it's okay, but I'm not going to tolerate it. It's way different than coming in and say, you're not getting it done and you have to get it done. It doesn't do anything for anybody anymore. But having the compassion and then using that compassion to then motivate and challenge, really smart leaders and really smart communicators know how to do that, which I think is a unique trait.
Well done. Couple of final shout outs. Andrea's here. Rob Thompson is here. Just an amazing. Joy Linsky must have eaten some kind of alphabet soup because she's just blasting.
She is explaining the ABCing of your content, which I love it, Joy.
She's living in acronym world.
One call to action for everybody, right? The whole point of what we're trying to do with this Nudelberg Daily Huddle is move it to an individual channel and really, you know, get everybody concentrated in the same area. So make sure you go to the Nudelberg Daily Huddle channel on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Ensure that when you join us in the morning, you hit a like, or right now you hit a like and hit a good morning so that we get the engagement with it. We will be moving all of the channels to that one on YouTube. So there will be some more information coming for you, but make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button. You guys have a fantastic Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's get
Hey, great job tonight. Go make us proud. Can't wait to hear all about it tomorrow.
Too, sir. We'll see you tomorrow.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night.